Hey folks, good morning and welcome to another episode of Steelers Morning Rush. I'm Alan Saunders. It is Wednesday, August 13th. The Pittsburgh Steelers are off today. They have closed training camp at St. Vincent College. The team returning back to Pittsburgh today after a final walkthrough and a rainy day, so a good day to have an off day here in Pittsburgh. We haven't had any rain in feels like forever after the early part of training camp dealt with thunderstorms every day. It's been hot and dry. And so the grass gets watered and the team heads back to Pittsburgh tomorrow. They will have a joint practice with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'll be previewing that on this show tomorrow. Today, I just want to wrap up training camp with some final thoughts on some winners and losers. Going to have a column out at SteelersNow.com on this a little bit later today, but we're going to preview it here. And I just want to talk about some players that I feel like on this podcast specifically just impressed me over the course of 3 weeks of training camp. It's been... we got a long time here. I'm kind of going back. Some of this will be a little bit repetitive of stuff if you're a regular listener here of things I've been saying, but I just kind of want to put a pin in our St. Vincent College experience. And I'm just going to kind of go through the roster position by position. At the quarterback spot, I think my biggest takeaway from training camp is that Aaron Rodgers can still throw the ball at a really high level. And we saw it on the field with the Jets last year. The problem wasn't his arm. It wasn't his release. It wasn't his accuracy. There were problems with the offense. There were problems with his protection. And maybe those are going to be problems in Pittsburgh. I don't know. But the man, despite being 41 years old, can still throw the ball. He still moves okay. Not like the world's best athlete at this point, but I think he can still throw. And if you're worried about Aaron Rodgers from a physical perspective, I don't think you should be. I think he can still do the job at a high level. At running back, pretty much as expected. Jalen Warren hasn't done very much. Caleb Johnson has a lot to work on in terms of his pass protection and his receiving abilities, but he can run the ball really well. I know people were disappointed with his performance in the preseason game. He'll be fine. I'm not worried about him running the ball at all. He looks explosive when he finds some room. He didn't get a lot of room in that game, but playing with the second team offensive line will do that. Not concerned about him at all. Some down the roster guys are running back. I mean, Lou Nichols to me is really impressive for a guy that just signed out of nowhere, was on the Eagles practice squad last year. Wouldn't mind seeing him stick around. And Trey Sermon, I don't know that they need a fourth running back, but he's an NFL rosterable player. Wide receiver is the position that's probably coming into this training camp the biggest question mark, and I don't really feel like we answered any of those questions. Roman Wilson has had a good camp. But most of that has come while Calvin Austin has been injured, and he's been playing in the slot. Calvin Austin being injured again doesn't help anybody. Really has highlighted the inability of most of these guys to get open. The one guy, wide receiver, I feel like made this team at training camp is Scotty Miller. If they had to play a game today, Scotty Miller would be in the starting lineup, along with DK Metcalf. He's been the team's next best receiver. He's been that good. I think he's developed a real connection with Aaron Rodgers. Not surprising when you look at how well Scotty Miller did when he had Tom Brady throwing him the ball. So there's just something about those experienced quarterbacks and the way he's able to get open. But he's been really good. I think Roman Wilson has a clear spot on the team and will at worst be the probably fourth wide receiver, but I think probably even the third. I think he'll probably play over Miller, but at least they do have someone playing well, and there's some depth there. Beyond that, Ben Skoranek is here for special teams. Haven't been impressed by Robert Woods. The undrafted guys, Brock Taylor, Keyshawn Williams, Max Hurleman, I feel like they're coming. I don't know if they're coming fast enough to get to the 53-man roster, but I think all three of those guys are interesting enough to keep around. And then we'll see where things go from there. At tight end, man, this team is deep and good. We haven't really seen that much of Johnny Smith. He seems to have a lingering knee thing that he's not going to practice holds on. But I wrote yesterday at SteelersNow.com, Darnell Washington looks like the best we've seen him. Connor Hayward looks like the best we've seen him. Pat Freiermuth looks really good. Even after, losing out on DJ Thomas Jones, I think they still have something in JJ Galbraith that they're going to want to try to keep around. So just a ton of talent there. And there's good reason that Arthur Smith's going to try to get all four on the field at the same time. Because I think they're that good. And then I think, the offensive line, Broderick Jones and Troy Fautanu have both been really good throughout training camp. Broderick had that injury, had a couple bad days against Alex Highsmith, and I'd like to see him and Highsmith sort of finish that. But Highsmith, I don't think is going to return before training camp. So, but Nick Herbig's no slouch. It's not like he's beating up on some just awful backup there with Highsmith out. He's been a lot better the last week. Troy Fautone has been solid throughout. Yeah, he's going to lose reps to TJ Watt. Everyone does, but I think he's looked really good. The interior, very strong. And Spencer Anderson looks like we questioned the offensive line depth coming into training camp. I still think they're maybe a little bit weak at tackle, but I feel good about Spencer Anderson at guard. He's played really well while Isaac Seumalo has barely practiced at all. And Ryan McCollum has been hurt, and I think that's really hurt their depth at center. He's really shown his importance by his absence. So something to keep an eye on there as well. On defense, I think we've got our 6 in Hayward, Benton, Harmon, Equale, Black, Loudermilk. I think that's a really, really solid group. We'll see what happens to the rest of them. I think Logan Lee is a player. Probably try to get him to the practice squad, but I think that's a solid 6. And then outside linebacker, very deep. We've known the 4 we've had for a while. The inside linebacker battle is going to be a really difficult one between Mark Robinson and Carson Bruner. I think that's going to go down to the wire. Still probably haven't learned enough there. Could go either way. Talked a little bit about corner the other day as well. Man, I think, Daryl Porter Jr. just showed up, has made some plays. For me, has been better than some of the guys who have been here. And then safety, Chuck Clark, what an absolute revelation there. Guy comes in, no experience in the defense, practiced the first day, has been a solid pro throughout. Sebastian Castro, I think, did have like a week where he kind of popped, but then sort of vanished. I think they're probably looking at him for the practice squad. And then, the specialists, both kickers and both punters have been really good. I think this has been a good training camp for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think a lot of people have made the team. I think a lot of people have shown like a lot of those undrafted guys or those bottom of the roster guys have shown enough where like they want to keep them. Aiden Williams, even though he got hurt the other day, looked really good at guard. Like they should want to keep him. Stephen Jones has been really good as a backup guard and tackle. They should want to keep him. Dylan Cook, I think, has been the best we've seen him in a Steelers uniform. There's just been a lot of standouts for me, and honestly, very, very few disappointing performances. I can probably count them on one hand. We'll get into that at the site, SteelersNow.com, full winners and losers coming up today, along with a column about the team's culture, which I think is relevant. And a great discussion yesterday and happening in 2 different places at the same time. Jalen Ramsey talking to Ryan Clark, Aaron Rodgers talking to us. Omar Khan talked about it on the DVE morning show this morning. So we're wrapping all those things together into a column also. Make sure you go over to SteelersNow.com, check out the content. Me, Smitty, back here for Afternoon Drive just about 6. Until then, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we will see you next time. Also, hoping to have another video with Julie Pelusi. Make sure you check those out in the evenings and let us know what else you want to see here on the YouTube channel. Looking to continue to expand what we have as we enter the season. All right, stay tuned.